The cold wind moved across the silent mining base as Commander Ryan Hale stepped out of the metal gate. He looked at the snowy mountains around him and felt a strange heaviness in the air. It was supposed to be a quiet day, only routine checks and equipment reports. But something felt wrong. The wind carried a faint smell of burned metal, and even the snow on the ground looked disturbed, as if something heavy had passed through during the night. Ryan walked slowly toward the far fence. His boots crunched in the ice. The place was too still. Even the mining drones were not humming the way they usually did. He touched the side of his wrist communicator, checking for signals, but nothing unusual appeared. Still, his instincts kept whispering that trouble had already arrived. He looked up at the sky dome, the giant transparent shield that protected the human base from the harsh alien world outside. Beyond it, the sky was pale blue, and soft white clouds drifted lazily, hiding their true danger. This planet looked peaceful, but the life here was anything but soft. Humans had learned that very quickly. As he walked along the fence, something caught his eye. A long trail in the snow, like a body had been dragged or had crawled while struggling. He bent down to study it. The trail was fresh, only a few hours old. The edges had not frozen yet. He followed it carefully, hand resting on the grip of his shock rifle. The trail led around a cluster of old supply crates and toward the edge of the shield. Ryan moved behind a crate and paused. He heard a weak, broken sound. A soft breath, a small cry. It didn't sound human. He slowly stepped out. At first, he saw nothing. Then his eyes caught movement beneath a sheet of fallen metal. He moved closer and his breath froze in his chest. It was a leopard-like creature, but unlike any animal known on Earth. Its fur was white with silver markings that shimmered even in the weak light. Its eyes, large, glowing blue, opened for only a moment before closing again in pain. It was hurt badly. Blood stained the snow around it. The metal sheet had fallen on its hind leg, crushing it. But it wasn't just the injury that shocked Ryan. It was the fact that this creature was one of the alien predators humans feared the most. They called them frost leopards, deadly, fast, and intelligent. No human ever came close to one and lived long enough to speak about it. Ryan slowly knelt beside her. Yes, her. Her body was slimmer and smaller than the males described in past encounters. She wasn't attacking. In fact, she looked too weak to even lift her head. Ryan whispered softly, "What happened to you?" The creature's breathing grew rough. Its ears twitched. She didn't growl or show her teeth. She was starving. Her ribs were showing through her fur. She had not eaten for days. She was dying. Ryan knew what he should do. The rules were clear. If a dangerous alien predator entered the base zone, it had to be put down immediately. It was for the safety of all humans on the planet. But as he looked at the creature lying helpless in the snow, something inside him refused to follow that rule. He saw fear in her eyes, but also something else, trust, as if she already understood that this human, this stranger, was her only chance. Ryan took a careful breath and lifted the metal sheet off her leg. She cried out, a sharp sound of pain, and her claws dug into the snow. Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment, but she did not attack him. Even injured, a frost leopard was strong enough to crush his bones. But she stayed still. "You're not here to fight," Ryan murmured. "You're here because you had nowhere else to go." He checked her wound. Her leg was bleeding heavily, and frostbite had already begun to form along the edges. She would not survive another hour in this condition. He opened his emergency pack and pulled out a thermal patch and a small energy injector. As he pressed the thermal patch to her leg, she let out a low rumble but still didn't resist. Ryan felt her body shiver under his hands. She was colder than she should have been, too cold. He opened a small ration pack and placed a protein bar on the snow beside her. She sniffed it weakly but didn't move. So he gently broke off small pieces and placed them closer to her mouth. Slowly, painfully, she ate. He fed her bit by bit until she had the strength to lift her head on her own. The communicator on his wrist buzzed. "Commander Hale's status report. Your check is overdue." Ryan hesitated, then answered, "All clear. I just found signs of a storm coming, taking a bit longer." He ended the call quickly. He couldn't let anyone know what he was doing. If the science team found out he helped a predator, they would order it killed immediately. When the creature finished eating, she rested her head on the snow. Ryan slowly stroked the fur behind her ear. It was softer than he expected. Warm despite the cold. "You'll live," he whispered, "but you have to leave the base. Humans won't understand." She blinked, her glowing blue eyes locking onto his face. For a strange moment, Ryan felt something pass between them, not language but a silent understanding. A promise or maybe gratitude. He stood up and looked around. The world was quiet again, but differently this time. As if something had changed, something important. He looked down at her one last time and stepped back, giving her space. The frost leopard lifted herself slowly, using her good legs. She limped toward the edge of the shield. Ryan followed at a distance. When she reached the boundary, she stopped and looked back at him. He didn't hear a sound, but he felt it. A message, a connection. Then she disappeared into the snowy landscape beyond the shield. Ryan stood there alone, snowflakes falling lightly around him. He didn't know why, but his heart felt heavier than before. He had saved a creature he was supposed to fear, and somehow, deep inside, he knew this act would not be forgotten, or simple. This was only the beginning of something far bigger than he could imagine. The next morning came quietly, but Ryan did not feel any peace. He woke early, long before the alarms. His dreams had been filled with glowing blue eyes and soft snow falling endlessly. When he finally sat up in his bunk, he felt the same strange weight in his chest that he felt the day before. Something about that creature had stayed with him, refusing to fade from his thoughts. He washed his face and looked at his reflection. His eyes looked tired, and his mind felt crowded with unanswered questions. Why had the frost leopard come so close to the base? Why had she trusted him? And why did he feel like she would return? Ryan tried to push the thoughts away, but his instincts refused to let go. He dressed, grabbed his coat, and headed out into the cold morning. Snow had fallen during the night, covering the ground with a fresh white layer. The sky dome glowed faintly as warm lights came on across the base. He stepped out into the crisp air, breathing deeply. Everything around him looked normal, almost peaceful. Workers headed to their stations. Drones flew overhead. The world felt busy again, but Ryan knew the peace was only on the surface. He made his way back toward the fence where he had found the injured creature. The snow there was untouched, except for the faint trail she had left when she limped away. He stared at the empty landscape beyond the shield. She was out there somewhere, alone in the freezing wild. He wondered if she had survived the night. A soft crunch in the snow behind him made him turn. It was Lieutenant Arden, one of the younger officers. "Commander Hale," Arden said, rubbing his hands for warmth. "You're out early today." "Couldn't sleep," Ryan replied simply. Arden nodded. "Something strange happened last night. A few drones detected movement outside the base. Not close enough to trigger alarms, but close enough to be noticed." Ryan felt his heartbeat jump. "What kind of movement?" Arden shrugged. "Could be anything, storm shadows, small creatures, or something larger." He paused before adding, "Science team thinks predators might be moving closer because of food shortages." Ryan kept his face calm, though his mind raced. "Did they identify anything specific?" "No, sir. Too much snow interference." Ryan exhaled slowly. "Keep the patrol patterns tight, no unnecessary alerts." Arden saluted and walked off, leaving Ryan alone with the rising worry inside him. If the science team noticed unusual activity, it meant others might soon discover the injured leopard's presence. And if they found her, they would not show mercy, not the way he did. Ryan walked back toward the storage crates where he had found her. He knelt and touched the snow. The trail was faint but still visible. He wanted to follow it, but leaving the base without permission would raise suspicion. He stood and walked away, but every step felt heavier. The entire day passed slowly. Ryan tried to focus on his tasks, but his thoughts kept drifting to the snowy landscape outside. When night finally came and the lights dimmed, he found himself unable to stay inside any longer. He put on his coat again and stepped out into the cold. The base was quiet now. Only a few guards walked along the walls, their lights cutting faint lines across the snow. Ryan moved toward the outer gates, pretending to check security panels. No one questioned him. He reached the corner of the fence where the snow-covered trail had ended. He looked beyond the shield, the world dark except for the faint glow of the distant mountains. He whispered softly, "I hope you lived." As if the wind itself answered him, he heard a faint sound in the distance. Not a growl, not a cry, something softer, a breath. He froze. His eyes scanned the snowy field, searching. Then he saw movement, slow, careful steps coming from the shadows. Ryan's breath caught as the figure became clear. It was her, the frost leopard, but this time something about her looked different. She was standing taller. Her wounds were still visible, but she seemed stronger than yesterday. Her glowing blue eyes locked onto Ryan with familiarity, almost warmth. But before he could step closer, she made a soft rumble, lowering her head and turning slightly to her side. Ryan frowned, confused. Why was she moving like that? Then he saw it. Two small shapes stepped forward from behind her. Small, snow-white creatures with glowing blue eyes just like hers. Their paws were tiny, sinking into the snow with each step. Their fur shimmered faintly and their ears twitched in curiosity. Cubs. Ryan stared in shock. She had cubs, 2 of them. Maybe 3, he wasn't sure because another small head peeked out for a moment before hiding again behind her leg. The mother nudged them gently, guiding them toward the shield. She was showing him her family, not as a threat but as trust. Ryan felt something powerful move through him. The creature he had saved was not just a predator. She was a mother struggling to keep her young alive. She had come back because she believed he could help them. He moved toward the shield, slow and careful. The cubs watched him with wide blue eyes, unsure but unafraid. The mother lowered herself slightly, showing calmness so her cubs would not panic. Ryan knelt on his side of the shield, placing his hand against the transparent surface. The mother stepped forward and pressed her nose against the same spot. The cubs followed, pressing their tiny paws against the shield as if trying to reach him. Ryan whispered, "You trusted me yesterday, and now you trust me with them." The mother blinked slowly, her breath fogging the shield. Ryan knew this moment meant something deeper than anything he had ever experienced on this planet. A bond had formed, one humans had never imagined was possible. But it was also dangerous. If anyone else found out, the mother and her cubs would be hunted. He looked at the little family and felt a decision forming inside him. He could not let them die. He could not let humans destroy something so rare, so beautiful, so trusting. But helping them would mean breaking every rule he had sworn to follow. Ryan closed his eyes for a moment, knowing his life had just changed forever. When he opened them again, the mother and her cubs were still there, watching him with glowing blue eyes in the silent snow. Ryan did not sleep that night. Even after returning to his quarters, the image of the mother leopard and her tiny cubs stayed in his mind. Their glowing blue eyes, their small steps, their trust. He lay in the dark for hours, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the heaters, feeling his heart beat faster each time he remembered their faces. By the time the morning alarm sounded, he already knew there was no turning back. He had crossed a line, and now he stood on ground that no human had ever walked before. He had bonded with a predator species. He had helped them, and now those creatures depended on him for survival. He quickly dressed and walked out into the cold morning. The sun barely touched the snowy land, but the base already buzzed with activity. Drones hovered, engines warmed, workers shouted greetings across the yard. Ryan walked through it all, feeling strangely separate from the world around him. No one else knew what he had seen last night. No one else knew the responsibility now weighing on him. He headed toward the fence again, pretending it was just another routine inspection. His boots left sharp prints in the snow as he moved through the quiet corner of the base. He reached the same place where he had met them the night before. He waited, unsure if they would return during daylight. Minutes passed. The cold bit into his hands. He almost turned away when he heard a soft sound, a gentle rustle in the snow. They were there. The mother leopard emerged first from the snowy field beyond the shield. She moved slowly but with more strength than before. The 3 cubs followed her closely, bouncing awkwardly in the snow, slipping, tumbling, and then getting up again. Their tiny bodies looked fragile, but their bright eyes were full of life. Ryan stepped closer to the shield. "You came back," he whispered. The mother lowered her head. The cubs curiously pressed their paws against the transparent barrier again. Their tiny noses touched the surface, leaving faint fog marks. Ryan's face softened. They looked healthier than he expected, but still too thin. They needed food, they needed warmth, they needed safety. Ryan reached into his coat and pulled out 2 ration packs. He tore them open and placed the food on the snow inside the shield, where the automated gate could slide it through. The gate hummed as it opened a small slot, pushing the food outside. The mother leopard sniffed it before gently nudging the packs toward the cubs. They clumsily bit into the food, making small, satisfied sounds. Ryan watched them eat, feeling something warm grow inside him. This was wrong by every human rule, but it felt right in every human way. While the cubs ate, the mother leopard looked at Ryan again. Her eyes held a depth he had never seen in any creature. It was almost like she understood the danger, understood that coming here was a risk, but she came anyway because she trusted only him. Ryan knelt beside the shield. "Why did you bring them here?" he asked softly. "Why me?" She blinked slowly, and for a moment Ryan imagined he saw sadness in her eyes. Then he noticed something else, scars along her side, hidden under thick fur. Fresh wounds, not from the metal sheet he had removed. Wounds made by something else, something bigger, something dangerous. Ryan leaned closer, lowering his voice. Were you attacked? The mother growled, not at him, but in memory. The cubs paused, ears twitching. Something had hurt her. Something had threatened her family. Ryan's communicator buzzed sharply. He stepped away from the fence before answering it. Commander Hale, a voice said urgently, we detected movement outside the northern zone. Large movement, bigger than usual. Ryan's heart jumped. What kind of movement? We're not sure yet, the voice replied. But the patrol team is preparing to investigate. Science Division thinks it might be one of the large predators we saw last winter. Ryan clenched his jaw. If they found this family, it would end badly. The humans feared the frost leopards, and something larger roaming nearby would only increase the fear. I'll handle the northern zone myself, Ryan answered quickly. You alone, sir? The voice asked. Yes, no patrol team needed yet. Could be false signals from last night's storm. The officer hesitated before answering. Understood, Commander. Ryan closed the communicator and rushed back to the shield. The mother watched him closely, sensing his worry. You're in danger, he whispered. Something big is out there, something hunting you. The mother growled softly, confirming his fear. Her ears moved sharply at the distant sounds across the snowy plain. The cubs huddled close to her legs. Ryan didn't have much time. He looked at the mother and pressed his hand against the shield again. You need to stay hidden. Don't come out during daylight. Humans are scanning the area. The mother stepped forward and pressed her forehead against the shield, as if understanding. Ryan wished he could lower the barrier and help them properly, but that would open a gateway for other creatures too. For now, this was the only safe way. I'll return tonight, he said softly. Stay close but stay out of sight. The cubs squeaked softly, looking up at him with innocent curiosity. Ryan reached out a hand, though they couldn't touch him through the shield. Then the mother leopard turned, moving back into the snow with her cubs following behind her. Their small bodies disappeared into the white landscape until all Ryan could see were tiny paw prints fading into the distance. He watched them vanish. His heart felt tight again. This was more than just a rescue now. This was a connection between species, a bridge humans were not ready for. And somewhere out there, something large enough to wound a frost leopard was still roaming the frozen mountains. Ryan turned toward the base, his coat whipping in the cold wind. He had to prepare. He had to protect them. Whatever hunted that family would come again, and if it reached the human base, the situation would explode into chaos. Ryan took a deep breath, stepped forward, and told himself the truth he already knew. He was no longer just a commander. He was the only shield that mother and her cubs had left in the world. Ryan spent the rest of the day preparing for something he could not fully explain to anyone. He walked through the base like a man carrying a secret storm inside him. Every noise sounded sharper, every shadow heavier. He checked supply crates, patrol routes, and defense gates, pretending it was only routine work. But in truth, he was searching for weaknesses, places where something large could break in, or where the mother leopard and her cubs could be spotted. He couldn't let that happen. The sun dipped behind the icy mountains, and the sky began to darken. Workers returned to their quarters, lights flickered across the metal walkways, and the entire base slowly settled into its night rhythm. Ryan waited until everything felt calm. Then he slipped away from the main building, heading toward the outer fence. The night air was colder than usual. The wind carried a low hum, almost like a distant roar hidden in the mountains. Ryan stopped walking and listened. The sound faded, then returned, stronger this time. It wasn't wind. It wasn't machinery. It was something alive. He tightened his grip on his coat and continued walking. Reaching the far corner of the fence, he looked out into the snowy field. The world outside was quiet, but something about the silence felt wrong. It was too still, too heavy. He scanned the shadows, expecting to see glowing blue eyes appear at any moment. Minutes passed before the snow moved. The mother leopard stepped out of the darkness, her glowing eyes reflecting the dim light from the base. She moved slowly but confidently. Her body looked stronger than before, but the scars on her side still glowed faintly. Behind her, the three cubs followed, stumbling clumsily, their tiny tails swaying as they walked. Ryan knelt near the shield, smiling softly. "You're safe," he whispered. "Good." The cubs pressed their paws against the shield again, making faint squeaks. Ryan opened 2 ration packs and pushed the food through the small opening. The cubs rushed toward it, nibbling eagerly. The mother waited until they finished, then gently ate from the last piece. Ryan felt warmth inside him as he watched them, but the warmth quickly faded when he noticed something strange. The mother kept lifting her head, looking around sharply, her ears twitching. Her body became tense, her tail stiff. The cubs froze, sensing their mother's fear. Ryan whispered, "What's wrong?" The mother did not look at him. She looked past him toward the mountains, her lips pulled back slightly, showing a flash of sharp teeth. Her body lowered, ready to defend her cubs. Ryan heard it then, a sound he had hoped he wouldn't hear again. A low rumble, deep and powerful, rolling across the snow like thunder. The ground vibrated under his feet. Something huge was coming. Ryan stood quickly. "Stay close to them," he said quietly, even though he knew she could not understand his words. But somehow he believed she felt his intentions. He scanned the snowy field. The rumble grew louder. The shadows at the edge of the mountain seemed to move. Then a shape stepped forward. It was massive, larger than any frost leopard. Bigger than any predator Ryan had seen in reports. Its body was thick and muscular, covered in dark fur that blended with the night. Its eyes glowed faint red, unlike the blue of the frost leopards. Its claws dug deep into the snow with each step. The mother growled, a fierce, protective sound. The cubs huddled behind her, trembling. Ryan felt his heart race. He had no weapon strong enough to stop a creature that size. The shock rifle at the guard post might slow it down, but it wouldn't kill it. And if he called the patrol team, the mother and her cubs would be in danger too. The creature stepped closer, its breath steaming in the cold air. It was hunting. It had followed the mother's trail. It wanted the cubs. Ryan looked at the mother leopard. She met his gaze for a moment, as if asking for help. He pressed his hand against the shield. "Move back," he whispered urgently. "Take them away from here." She didn't move at first. Her body was shaking, but she stood strong, refusing to run. Her growl deepened, warning the massive creature. The cubs whimpered softly. The larger predator roared, shaking the ground. Its breath was hot and foul, filling the air with the smell of blood and decay. Ryan acted fast. He ran to the guard station, grabbed the shock rifle, and returned to the fence. He aimed at the giant creature and fired. A powerful bolt of blue energy shot across the snow, hitting the beast's shoulder. It roared angrily and turned toward Ryan. He fired again, hitting its chest. The creature stumbled but didn't fall. Its red eyes burned with rage. Ryan shouted, "Go, get away." The mother leopard finally understood the danger. She pushed her cubs backward with her body, forcing them into the shadows. They resisted, frightened, but she growled softly at them until they obeyed. The creature lunged forward, ignoring the pain from the shock bolts. Ryan fired again and again, but each hit only slowed it. It roared louder, shaking snow from the mountainside. The mother stepped between her cubs and the giant predator, ready to fight even though she was smaller. Ryan's breath caught. She couldn't win this, not alone. He took a deep breath, aimed at the creature's face, and fired the strongest shot the rifle could produce. The bolt hit its eye, making it roar in agony. The creature stumbled back. The alarms did not sound until early morning, but by then Ryan already knew trouble had reached the base. He had barely slept. His body was tired, but his mind stayed alert, replaying the events of the night again and again. The giant predator, the mother leopard's fear, the cubs running into the darkness, his desperate shots, and the creature's furious roar shaking the frozen world. When the alarm finally echoed across the base, Ryan stood at his window and watched people rushing outside with confusion and panic in their movements. Drones lifted off, guards gathered at posts. The emergency lights flashed in sharp red pulses, cutting through the cold morning haze. Ryan took a steady breath and stepped outside. The main officer on duty, Captain Saren, hurried toward him. Her expression was tight, filled with concern. "Commander Hale, we detected a massive life form near the north perimeter last night. The sensors picked it up around the time your patrol was active." Ryan nodded calmly. "I saw it." Saren blinked. "You saw it. Why didn't you report it immediately?" "I was assessing the threat," Ryan answered. "It moved too quickly. By the time I had a clear shot, it was already retreating." Saren studied him carefully. "The scans show the creature was hit multiple times with high-energy rounds. That must have been you." "Yes," he replied simply. "I fired to stop it from approaching the base." Saren crossed her arms. "And what exactly did you see?" Ryan had expected this question. He kept his expression controlled. "Something big, larger than the predators we've cataloged. Dark fur, one red eye after I hit it. It didn't seem interested in attacking humans, just passing through." Saren frowned. "Our drones track the blood trail. It leads deeper into the mountains. This might become a security threat. We may need to send a full team to hunt it down." Ryan's stomach tightened. He stayed calm. If we chase it, we risk provoking it further. It's injured. It will likely retreat from populated zones. Saren hesitated. She respected Ryan's judgment, and that saved him for now. We'll hold off on deployment for the moment, but patrols will increase. Keep your eyes open. I will, Ryan replied, though inside he felt nothing but fear for the mother leopard and her cubs. Saren walked away to address another officer. Ryan remained in the cold air, watching the mountains. The silence around him felt fragile. He knew increased patrols meant more scans, more eyes, more chances for someone else to find the little family. He couldn't allow that. As the morning progressed, the base became a storm of activity. Workers whispered about the giant creature. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed they saw shadows moving near the dome. Others insisted the predator was already circling the base. Fear grew, and with fear came aggression. The science team demanded more data. The guard teams checked weapons twice. The drones buzzed overhead like metal insects searching for prey. Ryan watched all of it in silence. Each movement felt like a countdown toward discovering the creatures he had sworn to protect. When night finally came, he walked slowly toward the outer fence again. This time he moved carefully because patrol guards were everywhere. He stayed close to dark corners, avoiding lights. When he finally reached the quiet section of the fence, he knelt and scanned the snow outside. Nothing moved. No glowing eyes, no small paw prints. Ryan felt a sharp ache of fear. What if the mother had taken her cubs deeper into the mountains? What if the giant predator had returned? What if she had been hurt while protecting them? He whispered softly, "Please be safe." A long moment passed. Then the snow shifted. Small shapes appeared first, 3 tiny figures stumbling out of the darkness. The cubs. They tumbled forward, their glowing blue eyes bright with excitement. Relief washed through Ryan like warmth in winter. Then the mother appeared behind them, but she was slower tonight. Her steps were uneven, her breath visible in harsh bursts. When she reached the shield, she lowered her head not in greeting, but exhaustion. Ryan's relief turned to alarm. "You're hurt again," he whispered. He pushed food through the small gate. The cubs ate quickly, unaware of their mother's pain. The mother did not eat. She simply watched him with tired eyes. Ryan pressed his hand against the shield. "Show me." She turned slightly, revealing a fresh wound along her shoulder. Deep, bloody, and clearly torn open by something powerful. The giant predator had found her again. Ryan felt his chest tighten. "You can't survive this fight alone, not again." The mother blinked slowly, as if agreeing. The cubs finished eating and sat beside her, leaning against her legs. Ryan watched them closely. They were still too young to defend themselves. If the mother died, the cubs would not last a single night. The truth hit him hard. He could no longer just feed them. He could no longer just watch over them from behind a shield. He had to do something more, but taking them inside the base was impossible. Humans would panic, hunters would be called, and the cubs would be taken for research. The mother would be killed instantly, yet leaving them outside meant death by predators. Ryan felt trapped. He placed both hands on the shield, wishing he could reach them. "There has to be a way," he whispered. "I won't let anything happen to you." As if sensing his fear, the mother touched her forehead gently against the shield. The gesture was soft, full of trust. The cubs copied her, pressing their tiny paws against the transparent surface. Ryan closed his eyes. He made his decision. He would break the rules. He would protect them in a way no other human would dare. When he opened his eyes, the mother leopard was still watching him. Her eyes glowed with hope and pain. "I'll help you," he whispered. "Not just with food. Not just with small things. I'll protect your family fully. But we need a safe place, somewhere the patrols can't find you." The mother blinked. The cubs squeaked softly. Ryan looked toward the mountains where human sensors were weakest. A cave system existed there, abandoned tunnels from an old mining attempt. Dangerous for humans, but maybe safe for a family of alien predators. He turned back to them. "Tomorrow night," he whispered. "I'll take you somewhere safe." The mother lifted her head slightly. A silent agreement passed between them. The next step would change everything, and Ryan knew there was no return after this. Ryan spent the whole day planning the rescue in silence. He moved through the base like a shadow, speaking only when necessary, keeping his thoughts locked behind a calm expression. No one suspected anything. They only believed he was preparing for the next patrol shift. But inside him, a storm was turning. Tonight, he would break the rules of the base. Tonight, he would risk everything. Tonight, he would save the mother leopard and her cubs completely. He knew the danger and he accepted it fully. His heart had already chosen its side. As the sun set behind the icy mountains, the base lights dimmed and the night shift began. Ryan waited until most guards were at their posts and the patrol drones left for their programmed routes. He studied every movement, timing his plan perfectly. The old mining tunnels were his destination. They were far from the patrol routes and deep enough to hide a family of alien predators. He packed emergency rations, blankets, thermal heaters, and medical supplies. Everything had to fit inside a large storage crate so no one would ask questions if they saw him. When he zipped the crate closed, his hands shook slightly. He pushed the feeling away. There was no room for doubt now. He stepped into the cold night, pulling the crate behind him on a hoversled. The air was sharp and thin, carrying the faint echo of distant winds against the mountains. Ryan moved quickly but quietly along the shadows of buildings, avoiding lights and cameras. He knew every blind spot, every corner the drones ignored. When he reached the far fence, he paused for a moment, listening. The night around him felt too still. But then a soft, familiar sound came from the snow beyond the shield. A gentle rumble, a quiet squeak. They had come. He felt relief wash over him when the glowing blue eyes appeared. The cubs ran forward first, pressing their paws against the shield in excitement. The mother followed slowly, her body tired but still strong enough to move. She looked at him with deep trust, and Ryan felt warmth in his chest. He knelt on his side of the barrier. "We leave now," he whispered. "I'll take you to a safe place, but we must hurry before the patrols return." The mother lowered her head slightly, agreeing. Ryan activated the small maintenance gate at the bottom of the shield. He had hacked its access earlier, something he never imagined himself doing before this day. The gate slid open with a soft click, revealing a narrow space just wide enough for the Leopard family. The cubs squeezed through eagerly. The mother hesitated for a moment, looking at Ryan with a mix of fear and determination. Then she crouched and moved through the opening. When she reached his side of the shield, she stood tall again, her eyes glowing brightly in the cold darkness. Ryan whispered, "Stay close, follow me." He started pulling the hoversled toward the mountains. The mother walked beside him, alert but calm. The cubs bounced around them, their tiny paws sinking into the snow. Ryan kept checking the base behind him. Lights blinked, drones moved, guards walked, but none of them looked toward his direction. For now, they were safe. The journey to the tunnels was long. The snow deepened with each step, and the wind grew stronger, pushing against them. Ryan breathed heavily, but he never stopped. The mother nudged the cubs when they slowed, guiding them gently. At one point, Ryan slipped on ice, and the mother moved beside him quickly, steady as stone, as if protecting him the same way he protected her. He smiled softly. Their bond had grown stronger than he expected. When they finally reached the dark entrance of the abandoned mining tunnel, Ryan turned to the mother. "This place is hidden. Humans don't come here anymore. You'll be safe inside." The cubs sniffed the entrance curiously before stepping in. Their glowing eyes shone in the darkness like tiny blue stars. The mother followed, her tail brushing the snow behind her. Ryan pulled the hoversled inside and activated the small portable lights. Warm light filled the cave, reflecting softly off the crystal walls. It looked peaceful. It looked like a home. He unpacked the heaters first and placed them around the tunnel. The warm air spread slowly. The cubs lay near the heaters, enjoying the comfort. Then Ryan opened the rations and placed the food closer to the mother. She ate slowly, her body relaxing more with each bite. Ryan cleaned her wounds with gentle hands, applying medical gel and bandages. She didn't growl or pull away. She trusted him fully. When he finished, he sat back against the cave wall. The cubs crawled near him, one of them curling against his boot. He laughed softly. The mother watched, calm and protective, but without fear. Ryan whispered, "You're safe now. No one will hurt you here." For a long moment, silence filled the cave. Only the gentle breaths of the cubs echoed softly. Ryan felt peace wash over him, deeper than anything he had ever known. But he also knew what he had risked. By helping them, he had broken protocol. He could lose his position, his freedom.